Item 14 on the agenda, the community of the Circle Improvement Plan. Jennifer, thanks.
This paper provides a report to Council on the Bank Community Justice Outcome Improvement Plan for 2022 to 20 and seeking approval of this plan today. By way of background, Clackmannanshire Community Justice Partnership was established. Slightly a bit short for a minute. But the Clackmannanshire Community Justice Partnership was established in response to the Community Justice Scotland Act 2016. The membership of that partnership includes statutory partners named in the Act, alongside third sector and lived experience representatives, and joins up with other local statutory partnerships as well, such as the Alcohol and Drug Partnership and the Violence Against Women and Girls Partnership. The purpose of the Community Justice Partnership is to improve community justice outcomes for people involved in the justice system and for communities. Clackmannanshire Community Justice Partnership has a co-sharing arrangement that's shared by Justice Services, Clackmannanshire Health and Social Care Partnership, Police Scotland, and the Resilience Learning Partnership. It's unique in that it's the only community justice partnership in Scotland that has lived experience built into its co-sharing arrangements, and there's a real strength in that. The Community Justice Partnership have a statutory obligation to produce a community justice outcome improvement plan to set out how national and local community justice outcomes will be achieved. And the current plan that we have within Clackmannanshire is due to expire at the end of December this year. In addition to that, the Scottish Government has produced a new national strategy for community justice, which came out in 2022, and alongside that, a community justice performance framework brought out earlier this year that sets out the measures against the aims set out in the strategy. As a result of both of these things, the Community Justice Partnership has a statutory duty to now produce a new plan, which we're presenting today. This plan has been produced using a human rights-based approach that's informed by the lived experience of people who've been involved in the justice system. That's both as people accused of or who have committed an offence, as well as victims of crime. It takes account of the wider outcomes and priorities that impact on the justice system, in addition to local contributions to all the partners and other local organisations and partnerships. The priorities in the plan and the areas for improvement were developed following a robust strategic needs and strengths assessment that was carried out last year. It involved a combination of community profiling, service mapping and consultation through justice journeys workshops with partners, organisations involved in supporting people in the justice system and people with lived experience. The workshops are based on case studies developed through interviews with Clackmannanshire community members who have lived experience of the justice system. The case studies were developed by the Resilience Learning Partnership and by Apex Scotland and told the stories of people's justice journeys as told by them in their own words. In addition to that, the development session was held with all the partners to identify our priority actions going forward and also to review where we got with the existing plan that we have in place. Through the needs assessment, the following priorities were identified for a community justice partnership to focus on in order to improve outcomes for people in the justice system and in communities. These are to strengthen a whole systems approach and joined up approach to service delivery, early intervention to address issues arising as a result of health inequalities, embedding trauma-informed approaches and practice, and identifying and addressing workforce development needs. To take forward these priorities, the plan sets out a number of areas for improvement, and these are set out in paragraph 3.9 of the report. The delivery plan within the report, within the plan, to take forward the aims and outcomes within the plan, identifies relevant national and local outcomes to measure progress against the improvement areas. Further development of the delivery plan will take place over the next 12 months in order to ensure that it aligns with national outcomes set out in the recently published Community Justice Performance Framework and to support the supporting improvement tool. This approach has been agreed with Community Justice Scotland in light of the late publication of the National Performance Framework by Scottish Government. Development of the delivery plan will be through a network of short life working groups of the Community Justice Partnership. In order to do this, the partnership will work with a wide range of organisations who support both victims and perpetrators of crime. I'm happy to take any questions, and also I'd like to invite Scott MacDonald, who's one of the co-chairs of the partnership as well, to join me.
Thanks, Michelle. Any questions? Mr. Taylor?
Thanks, Stephen. I noticed that one of the bullet points says barriers to employment is being addressed. Can you tell me how we're tackling that, and if you have any positive examples of how it's helped people into employment and sustained employment?
Council. One of the things that we've done over the past couple of years within the partnership is really strengthened the employability presence within that partnership. So we have a link in, and I sit in the local employability partnership, and likewise the other way around. We also have Skills Development Scotland as one of the statutory partners in the partnership. We've been working with them, and we are working with the local employability partnership. You may be aware there's a new employability plan and set of pathways. Within that, community justice features, but needs to feature more strongly. So I'm working with the local employability partnership to develop almost a kind of sub-plan of that will set out what does that justice pathway look like, and where does employability feature within that. We're also working closely with Skills Development Scotland, and they've been involved with us, and are also involved in the work that we're doing around the review of youth justice as well. So we're very much strengthening those. I was also involved in delivering lived experience workshops to inform the new local employability plan as well. So I was involved in then taking back the learning from that to make sure that we're building it in across all our statutory plans.
Very much for what's the next report. It was just on page 248. You mentioned engagement with the Trauma Informed Justice Scottish Government programme, and I was just wondering if partners would be engaging with when the learning modules come out on the back of that, whether all the partners would be engaging in that learning.
It's not me this time. Thanks, Councillor. Yes, and that's certainly the plan. As you can see, one of our areas for improvement is about embedding trauma-informed practice and embedding that across the workforce. So what we need to do as part of developing the delivery plan is look at who else needs to receive that, and certainly the new framework that's come out, and the framework for working with victims around trauma-informed practice. We're aware that there's obviously new legislation coming in as well around statutory obligations to embed trauma-informed practice. So we'll be looking at rolling that out, and also making that available. Resilience Learning Partnership, as I mentioned, are one of our co-chairs. They've been involved in co-developing the national framework, so we'll be working very closely with them to take that forward.
Very much just a follow-up. In the Scottish Prison Service, probably about 70 to 90% of women who go into the prison estate are actually victims of significant childhood trauma. So I was just wondering about kind of joined up approach to psychological support for those victims of trauma before they get to the stage that they're involved in serious crime.
Thank you. In terms of justice services, it's obviously something that we're acutely aware of, and it's part of the development of our multidisciplinary team in terms of immediate access to CPMs, key well nurses, and so on. Support groups in terms of the women's support groups as well within justice services, we have that. We're also exploring opportunities to work with the psychology teams and further embed that awareness and early intervention and access to services. That's very much a statutory involvement, and I think there is emphasis clearly within this report and nationally about early intervention as well. So that does come down to the challenges of resources, and it's something that we continue to address. a lot of discussions today in terms of partnership working and both systems approaches, and we've got more and more really positive examples of that happening, and that's something to move forward with again with our health colleagues about how we get quicker access to the services when needed, and work in partnership with, you mentioned SDS as well. So for those who are unfortunately in custody and coming out, it's about how we support them in terms of voluntary through care, in terms of justice services, and how we can encourage them to engage with a service that they might be resistant to as well. And we use examples of some of the staff with some staff that we have added to the team in terms of addiction recovery or lived experience. So they're coming in with that kind of background as opposed to, oh, someone coming in as a social worker or as a professional as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Coyne?
Thank you. An infrastructure question. I have had some vicarious experience of young offender institution. And one of the major problems was when youngsters were being released from their, not having been in prison usually for drug offences, they were normally sent straight back to the community they'd come from, and it made it very, very difficult for them to reform, to carry on reform behaviour. And what was really needed, it was said to me, would be some sort of halfway house, some sort of place where they could be, given time to stabilise in the community again. Because, and that's a real problem, with not being able to get that. But sometimes there are quite tragic consequences, in fact, in one case in particular. I just wonder, I know it's expensive, but maybe there's another way to deal with it through other bodies. Is there any chance of there being a provision of some sort of lending platform for released offenders?
Thank you. I think the important to say is the planning before release, again, that's working with partners within SDS. It's about looking at the resources that we have in place and utilising them to the best that we can. And again, that draws on the partnership working. Also, in terms of what the person comes out on, they might come out on no statutory conditions or orders or anything like that as well. So you're really looking to develop a partnership with them and support them about what their plan looks like and what they want their plan to look like and how you can best accommodate that. Again, I put a real emphasis on working with those with lived experience as well, and overcoming some of the barriers. There are barriers just now, so we need to look at what do we do differently, what do we offer differently. And again, there's a bit there about quicker access to services and resources and listening. And I think that's key to this paper as well, about we're listening to people going through the justice system, certainly using the learning from the strategic needs assessment that's within this to shape our redesign and review of youth justice services just now. And already we're bringing in staff tailored around the findings from this. So I think we continue to build on that and continue to work in partnership with young people to hopefully prevent some of the tragedies that you're talking about that we're all unfortunately acutely aware of as well.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan.
I was just curious, the partnership seems to cover a broad range of organisations. I'm just wondering if you'd reached out to the Armed Forces and Investments Association to be part of the partnership.
No, we haven't, but it's a good point. So I'd be keen to pick that up and have a think about that, because that probably is a gap in terms of what we're covering. So that would be good to pick that up and follow that up for partnership. And we do, I am aware we need to continually review the membership of the partnership, and I think the development of our delivery plan next year will help us with that as well, in terms of identifying who do we need around that table to take forward the actions.
Any further questions? No? Okay, thank you. Councillor Dawson, would you do it?
Yeah, I'm happy to move the paper. This is obviously a partnership report, which will go to the Alliance, and as the chair of the Alliance, I have the privilege of having forward in the report. So I'm going to just, I suppose, speak from that or how I propose it. I think the plan speaks for itself. It's the Clackmannanshire Community Justice Outcome Improvement Plan for 2023-28. It sets out the vision for the partnership for the next 5 years, and it links directly to the national strategies in this area, as well as our priorities and the areas for improvement. Our partnership's been developed in collaboration with a wide range of statutory and third sector partners, and importantly using a human rights-based approach. And as has been said already, this is informed by lived experience. Theirs is the only partnership to currently do this, although I suspect that people will look to what's happening in Clackmannanshire and seek to emulate that. One of the main priorities for the partnership is focusing on early intervention, and I think that's really important. We all know around this chamber the importance of getting in there early to prevent things from happening in the first place. And we know the benefits to society if we can support people who are coming out of the criminal justice system from going back home to custodial sentences and other areas. So I hope everybody can get behind that. I would say particularly this is one area where Clackmannanshire size does work for us. We're able to act quite quickly, and we know all the services that we're working with and dealing with in partnership, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. In particular, I think our youth justice services perform extremely well, and I don't think there's any of us who have not seen the benefits of the unpaid work teams within our local areas. And I don't think you necessarily get that in the bigger areas there. So it's a good report. This is one of the steps for governance that has to go through other partners' governance procedures and will be considered at the Alliance as well, but happy to propose the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton, second.
Thanks, Convener. I'm pleased to second this paper to approve the Clackmannanshire Justice Ethical Improvement Plan and the plans for further developments over the next 12 months, taking into account the national outcomes from the Community Justice Performance Framework and the Vision for Justice in Scotland from the Scottish Government 2022. Also aligning with the Family Wellbeing Partnership, Violence Against Women and Girls, and the Alcohol and Drug Partnership. Recently, the London School of Economics reported that children in Scotland had a more hopeful future due to the impact of transformative policy reforms in the Scottish Government. However, as the figures show on page 6, there is a current correlation between higher deprivation and the need for community justice. This plan reflects in that and the requirement for a whole system approach alongside early intervention. I'm also pleased to see that people with lived experience of the justice system is at the heart of the strategic planning. I'd like to thank Scott, Michelle and the team at Criminal Justice for their ongoing transformative work to make Clackmannanshire a safer place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. People's now open to the debate. Councillor Lennon.
Yeah, I've been involved with the community justice from way back and worked in the third sector, and always felt it was intensely innovative in the Clackmannanshire area. And I remember going at a conference years ago where the Resilience Living Partnership stood up and gave a speech. And it's fantastic now to see the move forward to lived experience being embedded within this paper and the involvement of them within that. I think it's something that you don't really see across the board. I asked the questions about trauma because I know it's in place. I mean, I already know that there's a great commitment to working with trauma, which really is at the root of much of the crime within our society, and really a lot of the issues that our society have. So reading this report, I was actually really encouraged and excited actually to see the work that's moving forward, and I know that we'll continue to move forward. Again, I echo in commending the officers and the work that they're doing to take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? There's a possible new opportunity, so. Okay, so it's recommended the council approve the Clackmannanshire Community Justice Improvement Plan 2023 to 28 and approves the plans for further development of the delivery plan to support the CGI OIP by autumn 2024. Thank you. Item 15 is the Wellbeing Hub and Multi-School Project update.
Thank you, Convener, and good afternoon, councillors. Pleased to present this paper which provides updates on Wellbeing Hub and Multi-School projects. At the October Council meeting, I provided a detailed report on the selection of the architects, main contractor and professional team. REBA Stage 2 has now commenced, with JM Architects completing a thorough internal engagement programme to validate the space requirements and adjacencies against the project brief and objectives. This process will enable GM architects to produce a concept design. As part of the design process, we've appointed Animate to support a group of people with lived experience of inequalities to work alongside the design team to ensure that the concept design reflects the needs and aspirations of a range of user groups. And I think that follows on nicely from the previous presentation from the report from Shannon Scott. This approach is over and above the standard community engagement consultation process which will take place next year. So that will continue anyway. We'll continue to consult with the communities, but this is over and above that to ensure we're truly represented. Finally, as highlighted by Councillor Harrison at the October Council meeting, the feeder design competition for S3 to S6 pupils has now commenced. The closing date is the 12th of January. Happy to take any questions.
So we do you have any questions on the paper?
Thank you.
Councillor Harrison, to move.
Thanks, Convener. This paper builds on previous updates that we committed to bringing to council, and it does show how much we want to ensure there's community involvement throughout the project. As Robbie's just said, Animate have been appointed as advisors for the co-design process following the usual sort of recruitment processes, and there is an ongoing engagement programme with the extended design team to make sure that the project brief is being met. As Robbie has just mentioned, as part of that engagement, 14 local people with lived experience of inequalities have been selected in partnership with local partner groups, and again, as Robbie mentioned, still on the thunder all the way through this. The last paper just showed how important that is to be working with different groups across the community. There is, again, as Robbie's mentioned, the ongoing competition. We mentioned it at the last meeting, so you know, there is only another couple of weeks still going. That's early December it finishes, so if you've got any kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews that are 6, please encourage them to get involved in that. And that's been run in conjunction with FEDA. It is for S3 S6 pupils, and it is a great opportunity for the young learners to be involved in the project. And the top 5 designers will have an opportunity to spend time with the project design team, and they'll also have ongoing opportunities to touch base with the design team as the project develops. So I hope members can see that the efforts being made to include the community and project team at the outset is absolutely key that we deliver a wellbeing hub, and of course the Biology school that the whole community expects and will be proud of. So yeah, happy to move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Whitting, second.
Yeah, an excellent proposal, so I'm not sure what I can add to that. But it's good to see continued updates. We promised that, and that continues to happen. I think, you know, one of the things that people keep asking me is around, are we engaging with a range of different groups? Are we covering all bases? And I think what this does do again is to proper stamps that process is happening exactly how we want it to happen. We keep talking about this being the biggest infrastructure project of our time, certainly in the last 40 years. So it is so important that we get this right. And you know, having 14 people involved in this process from a range of different backgrounds across Clackmannanshire really helps us to ensure that we meet the needs of all corners of Clackmannanshire with this facility. So really exciting partnerships that have been created, the way that we're engaging with people over and above the ongoing consultation that will continue to happen. So first class consultation, long may that continue until we get physical progress, which will be coming shortly, I'm sure. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. People's now for debate. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, just briefly, I mean, it's a good update paper. I think maybe what's been missed out, well, the topic has been missed out because it's not particularly part of this paper, but I'm unsure that councils are looking at the very successful for the leaks bid from the Scottish Government for the new Lockheed's campus. So that would provide significant funding towards the overall project, which I think has to be welcomed. I do think the feeder design competition is quite interesting. My son is one of those beavering away just now. He's building remodels in his built environment class at high school. And I'm telling you, if he wins, we'll be having fountains, we'll be having statues, we'll be having greenhouses. It's actually really sparked imagination, and it's really good to see that young people are getting the opportunity to put what they're learning into a practical, you know, kind of example. And I think the idea that kind of one or two of our young people may be instrumental in how the final design looks is really quite something as well. And again, my son's really interested in the whole idea that if he is one of the kind of winners, he gets the opportunity to kind of shadow the design team and be part of something. Obviously, you know, he's thinking about the future and he's thinking about putting that on his CV and things. I mean, I never thought about that when I was 16, but you know, they're really looking at that. So I think the paper in this update is just really demonstrating the wider value of the project and exactly how we're bringing things home and how it's going to benefit in the community, not just with the finished facilities, but on the roads and how we get there. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other contributions to the debate? Councillor Harrison, can you sum up? Okay, so we've been asked to note the paper and to note the update. Item 16, which is the motion in the council facility, that's used in the motion.
Thank you, Chair, and happy St Andrews Day, everyone. As promised in my civic role, I'd like to propose this motion that we agree and approve the winning entry, both the tartan and the story that goes with it, as the Clackmannanshire tartan, and that we register the Clackmannanshire tartan through the tartan authority for the businesses and people of Clackmannanshire. That's with the caveat that all the legal niceties are covered by our monitoring officer and legal officer in terms of intellectual property rights. Happens on the screen there. The background to this is when I became provost, I was acutely aware of the rich textile heritage that we had, but in fact we didn't have any district tartans actually registered. So with the help of the Education Authority and the Futures Institute at Dollar Academy, we launched last September a designer tartan competition between S2 to S6. And it was actually open to all pupils who either were educated in Clackmannanshire and were attending schools out with. And I did reach out to some schools out with Clackmannanshire, but unfortunately didn't get any entries from them. But we did get 23 entries, and the winning entries was William Anderson, who is a pupil with Dollar Academy. He completely independently of his school support submitted his own entry, and he was one of the few males to enter the tartan competition. And it wasn't for that reason he won the competition. It was very much because of his both his tartan design and in particular the story. And I've left on your table a copy of the story that goes with it. And I won't go into it in detail, but it picks up the natural colours and heritage of our environment, and I think it signifies absolutely touches the nature of Clackmannanshire, and indeed it picks up all the colours of the council crest. Tartan sometimes can be a marmite feature, but increasingly it's used for promotional reasons, and I do feel this would add to the toolbox, not just for Clackmannanshire Council, but local business and people in terms of promoting our products. And in fact, my colleague next to me was wearing the dodgy wear tartan, and tartan's covered from everything from, dare I say, football clubs, but there are regional tartans, climate change conference and tartans, so it's extensively used. It just remains for me to just thank CTSI who have promised to pay for the registration costs of the tartan, and for me to thank my fellow judges, Claire Hunter from Tafta Threads, who hopefully will weave the tartan locally, and to Leslie Thompson from Thornton, sorry, from Crimson Kilts, who's also back as part of the judging panel. So I hope that this happening, if approved by you today, will be utilised in the future to promote our local area, and I'll certainly do that as progress. I'm happy to answer any questions and looking forward to a second.
Let's go, councillor McTaggart, a second.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm happy to second this promise. And I think, although the provost seems to have thanked everybody, I think it's incumbent on us to thank the provost, because he has been like a dog we alone for this garden. We've had it every week since he first come up with it, and he's worked away and worked away, and it's him that's got us to this point, nobody else. So I think it's only right that we thank the provost, and happy to send the paper. Thanks, Convener.
Thank you. People's open for debate, councillor Ben.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I mean, Tartan, as is Tartan was always game, it's either like it or hate it. I love Tartan. And I think that the fact that, that this young man has actually thought, not just, oh, I'll make it a Tartan, is incumbent in that every part of the manager, which is absolutely fascinating. It's been, it is a lovely Tartan as well, listen, I really like the problem. But that's the fact that he's put all this history and linked it in to every colour is absolutely fantastic. And I'm pleased the provost has brought this up, because sometimes you forget about the rural part of the country you're living in, and it's just there. But to have this tartan as a Clackmannanshire tartan, although we're very small, we're no town, that we are a Scottish country, and we do deserve the tartan of our own. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. Any other contributions? Councillor Vassili, do you have opportunities?
I'd just like to thank my fellow councillors for their support, but just to remember that it's part of the process, it still has to go through the registration process. By you agreeing this today, that's part of the criteria for the new registers regional district tartan, and hopefully I'll get a fair wind in that there's no other tartan of a similar nature within the 2,000 odd tartans that are registered with them. And it would be my hope that maybe in April of next year that we'll be able to do a sort of formal launch during Tartan Week. And I do hope that they'll be picked up by local businesses and people to use. I've already had some informal discussions with people like the Kingsley and I'll be able to say them that they would use that. But and of course, yeah, Clackmannanshire Whisky Festival as well as expressed an interest. So thanks again for your support. I hope that's our light tonight into some of the agenda items that we discussed today.
So are you content to approve the motion? Yes, definitely. I don't know what the other one that's seen that for the first time this morning. Please just see it for the first time in 5 months. I think it's very nice. So the next item is from the agenda of proposing the exec items. Is council content? Otherwise, content, please.